Hello everyone and welcome to GyanMimansa. On today's video, we will be talking about amendment of the Constitution, provisions of amendment of the Constitution. This is the 10th chapter in Lakshmikant. I have this 5th edition of Lakshmikant. This is the book that I have. Okay. So if you have the newer edition, then there may be a few more chapters, 1 or 2 more chapters there. No need to worry. We will be covering them also after we have covered this book in a holistic manner. So we are bringing 5 videos every week. So total around 60 videos will be there. So in 12 weeks, we'll complete the whole polity. We started the video from 4th of April. So we hope that we will complete them by 30th of June. So April, May and June, in almost 3 months, we'll complete the full Lakshmikant along with some small videos. Also, the video regarding the 15th, Article 15 and Article 16 are out. Okay, so you can watch them on our channel. The same playlist, I have created a playlist for whole polity. And similarly, we will be bringing the environment videos and the videos of Spectrum, Modern Indian History simultaneously. First, we will start with environment along with polity. And once polity and environment are over, we will be coming with the modern Indian history and other videos. Okay, so let's start today's class. Amendment of the Constitution. So Indian Constitution, you know that it is neither very flexible, not very rigid. That is synthesis of the both. In part 20 of Indian Constitution under Article 368, Parliament has the right to amend the Indian Constitution. That is, only Parliament can amend the Indian Constitution, no state legislature or by any executive order, the Constitution cannot be amended. So Article 368 provides a detailed procedure for amendment of any part of the Constitution. That is why there is amendment procedure, so it is not rigid, but the amendment procedure is not that easy. So we can say it is not very flexible either. So it is a mix of both. That is, sometimes it is rigid. For example, the basic structure doctrine. We will talk about the amendability of the Constitution in the basic structure chapter, the next chapter. Okay. So you can wait for that for basic structure. So basic structure of the Constitution, Parliament cannot amend. So that is the part of rigidity of our Constitution. Okay. So what is the basic procedure for the amendment? Amendment can be initiated only by introduction of bill in either house of the Parliament. That is, the bill can be introduced either in Rajya Sabha or in Lok Sabha. Okay, it is not that like money bill can be introduced in Lok Sabha only, but the amendment bill can be introduced in any of these. But state legislature cannot introduce a bill for amendment of Constitution. Right. Second is introduced by a minister or a private member or does not require prior permission of president. Okay, so it can be introduced by a minister or any other member of the Parliament. Okay, private member here is any member who is not a minister, maybe from the ruling party. Okay, he or she also will be a private member, and it does not require any permission from the speaker or the president or anything. Anyone can introduce. So 542 in Lok Sabha and 235 or 2 in Rajya Sabha, any one of these can introduce the constitutional amendment bill. Bill must be passed in each house by a special majority. Okay, so what here special majority is 2/3 of the members present and voting. Okay, and when more than 50% of the votes of the total strength of the house. For example, if 542 is the total membership, so minimum 272 are needed for the passage of the bill. And for example, 400 people are voting, so 2/3 minimum is required, that is 266. So in this case, minimum 272 is required, right? If all the 542 are voting, 2/3 somewhere would be around 362. So 362 would be required. Okay, that means 2/3 of present and voting and not less than 50% of the house. For example, in the Lok Sabha, I've given you an example. Similarly, it is for Rajya Sabha. So the majority should be special. Each house must pass the bill separately. So the bill must be passed by each of the house separately. It cannot, like the joint sitting cannot be called like in an ordinary law. So ordinary law, procedure of passing an ordinary law, we'll be talking about it in the Parliament chapter. but it can be passed through joint sitting also. But in case of constitutional amendment bill, it has to be passed separately by both the houses. Then, if there is a provision which tends to amend the federal provision of our constitution, then it must be ratified by at least 50% of the legislature. For example, right now we have 28 states, so at least 14 states must pass the bill with simple majority. So in the legislature, the bill must be passed by a simple majority. They don't need a special majority. Okay. So some of the provisions, federal provisions like High Court, Supreme Court, okay, if that kind of bill has to be passed, then it has to be passed by a simple majority by at least 50% of the state. And after the bill has been passed by both houses, the bill has to be sent for the assent of the president. President must give his assent to the bill, neither written nor written for the reconsideration. Okay. So the president cannot withhold the assent or return, but has to give the assent to the bill. That is in the case of constitutional amendment. We will also talk about the vetoes that president may use in the chapter related to president. There are 3 kinds of vetoes, but in general, president can withhold the assent, can return for reconsideration, can keep it in the pocket, that is, and say do nothing, and can give his assent for an ordinary bill. But for any constitutional amendment bill, the president has to give his assent. After the president assent, the bill becomes an act. So that is called a constitutional amendment act. For example, we have talked about 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act, 97th Constitutional Amendment Act in our previous videos. You can watch the videos in our channel. So there can be 3 types of amendment while talking about the amendment in constitution. So 3 types of amendments are simple majority of the parliament first. Second is special majority of the parliament that we have talked. 2/3 of the total membership and 2/3 of the present and voting and 50% of the total membership. Then for the federal provision, we need special majority of the parliament along with the ratification of the half of the state legislature. In this, there are few provisions we can look into, like if there is any changes in the High Court, in the president and his election, any changes in the 7th schedule. So we will be bringing a small video regarding various schedules also soon. So there are 12 schedules in Indian Constitution. So we'll talk about schedules and then what are the different parts. We'll be talking about different parts also within our separate videos, okay, smaller videos. So in the 7th schedule, it includes the list. So if you must know, there are 3 types of list where the legislature can, make legislation, make law. So one is union list, on which only central legislature, that is the parliament, can make laws. One is the state list, on which only state legislature can make laws. And some are in the concurrent list where either parliament or the state legislature can make the laws. We will be talking about it in detail in other videos, just to give you a basic idea. Okay. So any provision related to federal state of India, Supreme Court, High Court, as we have talked, the 7th schedule, the division of powers, okay, and then the representation of states in the parliament, they has to be amended by ratified by at least 50% of the states with simple majority. Then the special majority is required in this case, for example, amendment in fundamental rights, an amendment in DPSPs, any other provisions. A lot of provisions are there. And simple amendment majority is required anything related to union executive, okay, the changes in the rule of procedure of a parliament, like that kind of things can be amended by the simple majority of the parliament. Okay, so these are the three types of amendment, and above we have discussed the 8-step procedure of passage of a bill. So you need to remember this, that you need to remember what kind of majority is needed for passing a constitutional amendment bill, and most importantly, there cannot be a joint sitting to pass a constitutional amendment bill. So what is there are some criticisms if we look into this in the first 9 chapters also, we have been through a lot of criticisms of every chapter, right? Everything. So critics will always be there, and yeah, there will always be some loopholes that we need to plug by time to time. So the constitution was enacted on 26th of January 1950. At that time, there were a lot of loopholes. Till now, we have already had 105 constitutional amendments. So that means, yeah, we agree that there were some issues, some loopholes, or due to change in demand and everything. So there have been a lot of amendments. So, okay, we agree that there are some criticism. What are the criticism we can talk? No provision for special body for amending. That means the parliament is the body for amending. So they don't need to consult someone before. So there is no need of elaborate thinking for this. If there is a political majority, then it can be done, right? Power to initiate the amendment lies with the parliament. Yeah, similar that this must be given to some specific body. Okay. Then major part can be amended by the parliament alone, either by simple majority or special majority. This is again a good criticism if you look into it. Only a few things related to federal provisions, right? Like we have talked the president, election of president, the provision under the 7th schedule, the provision related to Supreme Court and High Court, then the provisions related to Article 368 itself. Okay, then the representation of the states in the parliament, seats in the Rajya Sabha. Okay, distribution of powers between union and the states. These are 6-7 provisions only for which the states need to ratify. Otherwise, the parliament can do it alone. So again, as I have told in this part, that if there is a political majority, then most of the part of the constitution can be amended at the central level also, that is at the union level only. Then there is no provision for holding a joint sitting for the amendment. So this can be a criticism also, this cannot be a criticism. It is also positive things that hastily passed bill cannot be, right? Then process of amendment is similar to legislative procedure, very simple process mostly in most of the cases, and sometimes it is too sketchy, right? So that is too sketchy means sometimes, a lot of times, not only sometimes, it goes to the judiciary. Once the amendment has been done, amendment has been passed, most of the amendment has been challenged. For example, 24th Constitutional Amendment Act, 39th Constitutional Amendment Act, recently the 99th Constitutional Amendment Act, NJAC, National Judicial Appointment Commission, right? This was struck down by the Supreme Court, right? Even after being amended by the parliament, Supreme Court struck it down, right? So there it is a little sketchy. That means again prone to judicial review, and if there is a lot of judicial review, a lot of acts get struck down, or sometimes it gets delayed in implementation. That is again not a very good thing. So these are few criticisms, mostly for means purpose. These are 2 questions. Let's look into them. The constituent power of parliament to amend the constitution. A, includes power to amend by way of addition, variation, or repeal of the provisions of the constitution. Is unrestricted by any inherent and implied limitation. So this point says that the constitution amending power of the parliament is unrestricted. So no, it is not so. It is not procedurally limited and restricted. Yes, it is limited and restricted, right? Is extra constitutional? No, it is under Article 368 of the Constitution itself. So A option is correct. I am just trying to explain this answer because it is a little difficult to understand at your stage maybe. Next, a constitutional amendment shall also be ratified by legislature of the not less than half of the states by resolution if it is meant to make any changes in. So we have talked if there is changes in fundamental rights, CPSPs and fundamental duties. Here, parliament alone can amend by special majority. The provisions related to High Court, Supreme Court, etc., they have to be ratified by the legislature. So option is the D. Okay. So this was all about today's class. You can join our Telegram channel for answer writing practice. We have started this Monday. Okay, and you can email us at info@GyanMimansa.com for your queries. You can join our social media platforms on Facebook and Instagram. Also, you can join our YouTube channel and comment your any queries or any suggestion. You can comment in the comment box below. Thank you very much. All the very best.